Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Meet Menaca, celebrating you. Thank you so much for everyone who is on the Zoom platform, and a very warm welcome to everyone who is joining us from Facebook too. Thank you so much. Today is a special day. Here we are going to celebrate the International Women's Day. So the International Women's Day was started to celebrate women and their achievements a while ago, 1911 to be exact. And this year in particular, the theme for the International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. So I am sure we are all awaiting to hear from these great women from different cultures, 4 different countries, and pour their heart out to give us a powerful, but I would say transformational message for all of us to learn and transform to the best selves we can be. Without further ado, let me introduce today's panel speakers. The first speaker is going to be Julie Tushingham from UK, who is a reputation and a business coach. She will be speaking about assertiveness and how to be comfortable speaking up for yourself. Then we have Devapriya Khanna, all the way from India. She is a leadership brand strategist, founder of 212 Degree Brand Lab, and president of the WICCI India UK Business Council. And I just realized she also has today become the Business Council member of the Forbes magazine. She will be speaking today about how to empower women, finding wings. And then we have Claudette Stewart Brown, who is a success coach helping Black women in work today. Her topic would be specifically resilience of African Caribbean women. And then we have Dr. Uma Palanisamy from Malaysia. She is an associate professor, Jeffrey Chia School of Medicine and Health Sciences in Monash University, Malaysia. She would be speaking about empowering youth to transform our communities. A very warm welcome to all the guest speakers. It's great honor and privilege to have you. So we will be taking turns and asking questions, listening to each other and learning today. Firstly, let me go to Julie Tushingham. Julie, you are going to speak about assertiveness today. Can I ask you, before we deep dive into the subject itself, what does it mean to be assertive?
Oh, that's a good question. Assertiveness is often confused with being aggressive, but being assertive means being comfortable and confident, speaking up for yourself and for other people. Women typically feel more comfortable initially speaking up for others, more so than themselves. And so it can be a big step to start to voice your own opinion and take a stand for yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Julie, because it's like really enlightening for us to know. I have to ask this question. What makes it so difficult for women to be assertive?
From the research that I've done and working with clients for my years being a coach, I would say that the problem I come across time and time again is fear. It's fear of rejection, fear of not being liked if you do speak up, fear of what other people might think. And also the sometimes crushing analysis we do after we've actually spoken up. It's that horrible anxiety of questioning, was that the right time? How was I perceived? Again, what do other people think? And so often then we can stand in our own way for speaking up for something. I'm sure we've all been in situations where we've said, oh, I wish I'd said something then. I know what I would have said, reflecting on it.
Sure.
And so often it's hard to get out of our own way and go beyond the fear and speak up confidently anyway.
Sure. Thank you so much, Julie. It's really important point you make that, particularly in certain cultures and backgrounds. When you are assertive, it is interpreted as being aggressive or being arrogant, even, particularly when it's done by women. So, how can you overcome that?
Mm. Yes, yeah, it's what we kind of tell ourselves, isn't it? Or ask ourselves, am I really, will this be interpreted as aggressive? When the difference between the two, when you're being assertive, you'll use I words. I feel like this, I am uncomfortable with that, or that doesn't sit well with me. When we're aggressive, there's emotion and aggressive body language. We look to overpower the other person and really get our own way. Being assertive is really looking for the goal of a win-win. When you're assertive, you're engaging in a discussion. You may not have exactly the outcome that you want, but the person that you're asserting your opinion or yourself with, you can engage in a conversation, and then it becomes two-way, and you build relationships this way, and you also build boundaries and tremendous respect with other people. If done right, and knowing your audience is key too. You can really build relationships, um, and extend your network and connections.
Thank you so much, Julie. That's really, really important. And I know that Julie and I have personally, we have spoken about these topics, and I really like the fact you mentioned the word boundaries there, how to not to cross them. So, what do you think are the benefits of being assertive and having those boundaries clear to yourself and others?
Mm. I think I'm the first one I'm going to mention, because I see it so often in clients that I work with, is tremendous respect and confidence in yourself. Once you set those boundaries, once you become assertive, um, I remember the first time I really stepped out of my comfort zone and started to be assertive when I was working in corporate America. And the first thing that struck me was, oh, people are listening to me. And then I began to think, oh, then I really do have something to say. So it increased my self-awareness. And you realize that you become more effective when you set boundaries. You respect yourself more. You know what you will and won't do, and so do other people. So there's increased respect and confidence. You know how to ask for a career move, a pay increase, really ask for what you want based on, calm conversations, and being confident in what you're talking about.
Sure. Thank you so much, Julie. It is a skill we all have to learn. And for women, particularly, it's definitely worth learning. In the process of celebrating the International Women's Day, one of the things you should really sign up for yourselves as women is to learn the gift of assertiveness. So, on that code, what would be your tips for women and men to be able to communicate assertively?
Mm, very good question, actually. Um, the first thing I would say is always consider your audience. If you're going to be assertive and speak up for yourself, think about who you're talking to, how you can best relate to them. Do it calmly, confidently, and also base it on fact. Um, it's very hard for people to hear what you're really saying. You feel very emotional and angry or upset. So try and be calm about it. Use I a lot. I feel this way. I would like this. I am not comfortable with that. And be prepared to continue the conversation beyond after you've expressed your opinion. You're not just going to turn up and say, I want this, and then walk away. Be prepared to engage and really talk it out, and try not to take feedback personally, so that you stay present in the conversation and follow it through to the end. This is a win-win outcome that you want. It's good for the person that you're talking with and also good for you.
Thank you so much, Julie. It is the skills of negotiation and conflict management, isn't it? When I speak to the teams and leaders, this is the first thing I say. There are places in marketing, for example, you use you all the time, and that's perfect. When it comes to conflict and negotiation, you use I, particularly when there's negative things, because drop the you, because when you use the word you, it is all about blaming game. When you use I, you're taking responsibility and you're making other person understand the different perspective. So I love the way you explained it. Thank you so much, Julie. It's a
My
pleasure.
pleasure.
And I'm sure I'll come back to you later on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. It's an honor.
Pleasure is mine. Devapriya Khanna from India. It's your turn now.
Thank you, Menaca, for having me here. As Julie said, it truly is an honor for all of us to be here and to share our voice and our message through your community, through your platform. So really, a lot of gratitude.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine, darling. So Devapriya is going to speak about wings to fly. And she couldn't have resonated more with me because my book is called Resilience Learn, Healing Wounds and Finding Wings. And who other than Devapriya has actually appeared on my book. Whoever has read that book so far, they know she wrote a note about the book at the end. So when I saw the heading Wings to Fly, it definitely resonated with me. So you chose a great topic because it is about empowering women today. So what does empowerment mean to you?
Like you, Menaca, I could write a book on that because you and I have had so many conversations about empowerment. And when I've looked at my phone after that, I've seen that, that conversation has run into, I don't know how many, close to an hour. And given the fact that you're in London and I'm in India, it's been a lot of speaking. But if I put it in, I would say 3 words, I would say that empowerment to me means freedom, infinite possibilities once you're empowered, being able to stand in your own power, to recognize that the power lies within it. You don't have to seek it from outside. You don't really need to seek validation from outside. You are enough. You are all complete, whole and complete. And empowerment to me also is the power to be able to make choices. So that's how I would sum up empowerment.
Sure. Thank you so much, Devapriya. It's so true what you said, because how I met Devapriya firstly was through a Facebook group I run called Empowering Global Women, and Devapriya was part of it. And then, as fate would have it, we became co-speakers in London in Women's Economic Forum. And before we knew it, we were like, we met up and had a great time. Who knew years later we would be hosting a program together? And Devapriya kindly even invited me to be part of her council. So, you never know when you decide to empower women and co-create something and collaborate, you never know what amazing results they can have. So thank you so much for that, Devapriya. What are the most impactful ways in which a woman can empower herself and give herself those wings to fly?
Wonderful question. And again, there's a lot that one can speak about, but I'm going to talk about something which is actionable and something that, all the women and even men would identify with. So first off, I would say that it's very important to overcome imposter syndrome, which is so inherent in women. I feel like a fraud. I don't think I deserve to be so successful, right? Everyone here seems so confident and clever. I feel inferior. I feel underconfident. So to all the women here, even, no matter what levels of success you're at, does this sound like you and the voices in your head?
Definitely.
Does it sound like your self-talk? Yes, it resonates. It resonates at every level. That dreaded feeling does have a name and is experienced by many, and it's called imposter syndrome. So here I would say that your true voice is your ally when it comes to beating imposter syndrome. Putting up a facade or a fake persona will add to you feeling like a fraud will add to you, feeling not enough. So while it's really good to have role models and, benchmark yourself, I always tell my clients and I tell my own daughters that it's great to have role models, but you cannot become them. You really need to know what your identity is, who you are inside. And when you focus on your purpose, when you can tell your real story and allow yourself to be vulnerable, that's when you're on your way to defeating this devil called imposter syndrome. So, and that includes all of you. Show up as you are. And when that voice in your head whispers to you that you're not good enough, reply firmly, yes, I am good enough and I know it. So this is really important, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with a lot of inner work. It happens with a lot of inner healing and conviction, but it is definitely something that can happen, and it has happened. I mean, in my own journey, it has happened, and I've seen a lot of people overcoming imposter syndrome very, very successfully. The second thing that I would say, again, is very important, and that is a woman needs to make herself independent, both financially and emotionally. And here I'm not talking just about single women. I'm talking about single women and married women. Okay, so you could be married to the most loving husband who sort of completely has your back, but you still need to have your own stream of income and a few assets of your own, because you never know which way the tide can turn, and life is uncertain. We've all seen that in our lives in some way. So financial importance, I would say, is absolutely critical. Again, something I tell my own daughters, I tell my clients, I tell my friends, everyone. And coming to emotional independence, while it's great to have a network of people around you who love and care for you, your family, your friends, but I would say it's important to be able to look after your own self, by learning how to be more emotionally independent, you'll find ways to improve your own well-being. Dipping within yourself to find everything that you need for you to be resilient, for you to stand up. And I'm not just talking about times when we find ourselves in crisis mode. I'm talking about making this a habit on a daily basis to do something that fuels our inner self, something that makes us more emotionally resilient. Reframe the conversation you have with yourself. Silence the negative self-talk. I think, and even in aircraft, we are told to put on our own oxygen mask and life jackets before we help our dependents. And we've heard a lot about how you can't pour from an empty cup. I think that is what we really need to look at and what we need to do to truly empower our own self.
Thank you so much. I always say, for particularly the healthcare professionals, any professional in general actually, and the leaders, we are often focusing on our business, on our teams, and we often forget to look after ourselves. Personal well-being and personal happiness and satisfaction is fundamental to be able to sustain your professional success. So I think, well said. Going into the professional life, like you said, and you advocated that all the women should try to be financially independent. So in your opinion, what are some ways in which women can make themselves more visible professionally?
That's a great word, Menaca. Visibility. I think for women, visibility is like it's something alien, isn't it? I mean, we really have to push ourselves to be visible. We call ourselves introverts, even if we love company. But visibility is so important in the professional world. And what I tell everyone is that visibility should be a conscious strategy in building yourself professionally. In today's day, while women executives are keenly aware of the rewards of visibility at the workplace, many don't find it easy to adopt strategies for the same. And just note the word strategy, because we have to be strategic with our visibility. We can't just say that, okay, today I'm going to get very active on social media, and then, there are a few posts and then that's it, or giving someone the reins of your digital presence. Today, being good at your job isn't the only requisite for getting ahead in your career. And I think we're all realizing that as we are moving on to the digital age. If the right people in your industry are not aware of you, you may be the best expert, but you're most likely to miss out on opportunities. So how can women make themselves more visible? Firstly, as Julie said, she touched upon it so beautifully, is that women, please speak up. We speak up at meetings, speak up at conferences, and even contributing your point of view at a talk or a webinar helps you get noticed and positions your thought leadership. So many times we have the answer, and somebody else speaks up and gives it, and you tell yourself that, oh, but I thought about it first. But no one's going to get into your head to really figure out that you thought about it. So women, share your voice, And the second thing is, how can you expect visibility when you attend every webinar with your camera off and your mic on mute? Yeah, because there's something happening in the background and this and that, but just make sure your environment is such that, you can show up, speak up.
Sure.
Speaking at events and conferences is also a great way to demonstrate your thought leadership and increased credibility. Yeah. Then, quickly, I'll just say that, grow your network. Your allies or network are your key sources of visibility in your organization, community, and sector, right? And they become your brand advocates. And lastly, again, Julie spoke about the 3 C's, where she talked about being calm, being confident, and about credibility. I think it's very important to be credibility. But I'd add a 4th C to it, and I'd say be consistent, because your visibility strategy cannot be once in a blue moon activity. You need to be consistent. You need to find a balance and frequency that works best for you, and stick to your schedule. Show up with intention and not by chance.
Thank you so much, Priya. I couldn't resonate more than that, because I think actually I did a video why I wasn't doing vlogging before. Everyone was asking, why are you not vlogging? Even now it's a problem, because one day as women, we think our hair is not right. One day our dress is not right. One day, somehow we are just not in that mood, any excuse. So as I often say, either you can find reasons or you get results. So I think pick up what Devapriya said and show up for yourselves. Might be no time like now. Share your screens, be confident, and show up for yourself, and speak up for everybody who needs a voice. In 2 lines, Devapriya, can you share a story of empowerment from your experience?
That's a very difficult task in 2 lines, but I will tell you. I've been in the corporate world for about 18 years, and of course I've had different kinds of bosses. There was this one boss who was always used to tell me, so our working hours were from 10 to 5, but even when I'd be leaving at 6 o'clock, he would tell me, oh, are you going half day? Are you going home half day? Because there was this whole culture of staying back till 8:30 to prove that you're doing a lot of work around the place. But I had a kid to go back to, and I would leave. So I would tell him, things like, oh, but it's already 6, so I'm leaving. One day when he asked me that question, and I was leaving at 6:30, when 5 o'clock is the official time, I looked at him like straight in the eye, and with a nice, pleasant smile on my face, I said, yes, I am going back home half time. After that boss never asked me that question ever again. So the whole thing of being able to look at him in the eye, stand in my power, and speak his language and say, yes, I am going half day, instead of making excuses, that moment was a moment of true empowerment for me. And there have been others as well.
Sure. It's a beautiful story.
Thank you for asking me this.
It's a beautiful story, Jeffrey. And I'm sure Julie is cheering at the background, being assertive, isn't it? That's what you actually did. Good for you. Thank you so much, Devapriya. As ever, it's a pleasure, and I would be coming back to you to ask more questions later. Claudette Stewart Brown, it's your turn.
Wonderful. What am I the turn on? There's so much to discuss about here today. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Claudette. And you are going to be speaking about resilience of Afro-Caribbean women. I must thank you once again for showing up as a fellow woman for my book launch and supporting me, and trying to live that true empowerment. My question to you is, what was your reason for starting your company, Black Women in Work Today?
Well, thank you for having me on your platform. It's very honorable with all of these people today. My situation really for starting Black Women in Work Today was really with regards to a work situation. I had applied for an internal vacancy, and the interview was in two parts. One was competency and one was role play. I went through the whole process. I didn't get the job, which was fine. And when I asked for feedback, I was told that my competency section was wonderful and it was good. My role play, however, my white female manager said to me, my role play looked frightening and terrifying to her. And I left the assessment and I thought, well, what does that actually mean? Does that mean that in her eyes, a Black female in a managerial position is terrifying? And so I had to assess that. And that was the reason why I started Black Women in Work Today, because it provides a bridging support to women who are from the Black and African Caribbean community who want to change job roles or go into higher responsibility roles. So that's what we do. We support that. We provide that bridging for them.
Sure, thank you. It's beautiful to know why you started, and it's a powerful story. So for you, what does equality mean as an Afro-Caribbean woman, Claudette?
Well, equality means, for me, being given the same respect that everybody else has, whether that's professionally or whether that's as a human being, or whether that's for gender. I think recently there's been a lot of talk about professional here for Black women in the workplace. And there has been this thinking that if we have natural hair, we're not being professional. Natural hair means different types of styles like plaits or hair that's not relaxed. So even that simple thing like that, there's now a campaign asking organizations to support their Black African female professionals who want to have natural hair. Now, this is a simple thing to everybody else, but why should it be an issue if a Black woman wants to have natural hair? And another thing, when we're referred to in the media, we're often referred to as Afro-Caribbean or Afro something, but the reality is Afro is a hairstyle, it's not a people. So we should really be referred to as African Caribbean. So, you know, it's just the little things that undermine who we are as women and as Black women. And it's in our daily walk that we challenge those little things. They're microaggressions, but we need to challenge them to get the things changed.
Thank you so much, Claudette. You know, I am guilty of it. That is definitely something I learned because I have been saying Afro-Caribbean. I must admit, I am guilty of it because misunderstandings come from lack of knowledge, I guess, and I've definitely parted to it. So thank you so much for enlightening me with that information. I would bear that in mind. Yeah. So as I have learned now, as an African Caribbean woman, what do you consider to be one of the most challenging external issues for the African Caribbean women?
I think going back to what Julie was saying at the beginning about aggression and assertiveness, I think a lot of the time the African Caribbean woman is often misunderstood. Mm-hmm. If we are seeking to be professional and there may be an issue in the workplace that we want to discuss with our line managers or even HR, oftentimes, whatever the case is that we're presenting, there is a conception by those that we're speaking to that we're just being aggressive. You know, we're the typical angry Black woman. And that isn't the case at all. So oftentimes we can feel like our voices are not being heard. And we need to speak up. And we need to take the emotion out of it sometimes because it can be quite distressing. If you're in a community, whether that's a general community or a professional community, if you feel like you're the minority all the time, then how do you garner strength to do the things that you want to do? So it's just about being accepted. And I think the most challenging thing is that we are often misunderstood. So you have to fight another person's preconceptions of you before you even present your case, whether it's a good one or not. There's lots of hurdles that you have to jump over. So for me, it's about being accepted. That's the hardest challenge, I think. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, Claudette. That's really, inspiring to know that how people can change, because it is partly comes from being in the community and knowing what happens and how people communicate. And if that makes you feel any better, we do have those angry Asian women too. we can also get those titles.
Yeah.
Okay, so going from there, as an African Caribbean woman, how important is resilience in the process of success?
Oh my goodness. You know, our core value as African Caribbean women is resilience, because we are literally fighting all the time. We fight that imposter syndrome on the inside when we do acquire or we do get to the top of our career professions. You can be in a boardroom and you're the leader, and someone will come in the room and ask you, do you need any help? Can I get someone else for you? Because in their eyes, you're not recognized as the person in charge. So, there's that. And you have to have that core belief in yourself. Resilience is about finding that place on the inside of yourself to say, keep going. In spite of what's happening, you can keep going. And that inner voice as well, you have to really allow yourself to speak positively to yourself. We all have inner voices, and it says various things to us for various reasons. Some of the inner voices are debilitating and some of them are empowering. And so you've got to always find a place within yourself where you can settle and listen and think, let me assess where I am, let me assess where I'm going, what do I need to do? But never, ever, ever give up your power on the inside of yourself to be who you want to be. Because once you relinquish that power, it's very difficult to get it back.
Sure. Thank you. Resilience, I love the word. That's the reason my book is called Resilience Learned. And it's all about that, isn't it? To survive in this world and become success and change your stress into success.
Yes.
So in one or two lines, can you explain to the audience how important it is visible parity across mediums for the future of progress of the Black women?
Wow. Well, this is it. There's been lots of research about Black women going up the career ladder, as it were. I mean, even in government, we see a lot of Black women in the UK who are in high positions. We see a lot of Asian women who are in high ranking positions in the government. And it's very good to see. But this is one amongst many who are not from our communities. And I think what needs to be done is that there needs to be an effort made by corporate UK and even in the school system to present people from different communities who are in these positions so that the young ones coming up can see themselves reflected in the careers that they want to go into. So I think it's very important and more effort needs to be done.
Thank you, Claudia, and I will come back to you later. It is Dr. Uma Palanisamy from Malaysia now.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. So you're going to be speaking about empowering youth to transform communities, and I know you're already doing a great job in this sector. Let me dive first into the important questions. So we are all aware that community engagement in general leads to improved outcomes, both to the provider and to the receiver. So how does your quest to include this community engagement help and eventually empower youth?
Thanks, Menaca. But before I start, I would really thank Julie, Claudette, and Depriya. I think you've spoken so much wonderful things about how to empower women. My angle is a bit different. I'm looking at how to empower youth. So thank you for inviting me to this platform. Like you mentioned, Menaca, community engagement itself brings changes to communities. I think we are all aware of it. But it also impacts a person who's actually carrying out this community engagement. So for the youth that I work with, apart from them being exposed to real world experiences, having engaged citizenships, understanding social, economic, and political inequalities, we've observed that apart from these, when we engage or get youth to engage in community engagement, we've seen some significant improvement in youth. Either it's not just from our research, but many people have documented this. And some key changes that we see is development in adaptable skills, such like some things like problem solving, decision making, working in multidisciplinary groups, multicultural groups. And these youth, not just that they become empowered, but they themselves become advocates for these communities. And they end up with confidence, resilience, for what Claudette says. We can see that they become more resilient, they grow professionally as well. And the other thing we see is that when we follow up these youth down the road, we notice that they themselves will become advocates and they start up their own community groups and or help different community organizations.
So thank you so much. I think, as I know that personally, that you are doing a great job for youth. So can you share with us how you have, or your projects that you have carried out to empower youth is transforming communities?
Okay, thanks. So Menaca, I think I shared this with you all when we met up yesterday. Mm-hmm. I am actually a biochemist by training, and I got my education in UK many years ago. So when I joined academia about 10 years ago, and I started getting involved in community engagement, and I came up with this program where what we did was, we did this with healthcare students, actually, initially, pharmacy and medical students. What we did was, we put them in groups, and then we send them off for one whole semester to different NGOs. And we get them to behave, or rather work with the NGOs like they are part of the NGOs. We also get them to troubleshoot issues that the NGOs face, develop programs, proposals, advocate. And at the end of the day, we realize we've seen changes. And one of the unique things we do is we make these students keep reflective journals. And they are supposed to send the tutors journals every month. And through these reflective essays, we notice that how we observe changes in the students within them, how they change to become, their thought process changes, and culturally, being more culturally aware, become confident, their communication skills improve. And so initially, when we started with healthcare groups, lately what we have done is we've actually put students from all faculties, engineering, IT, arts. Can you imagine you have a group of people from all different disciplines? We put them together and then we send them off. Yeah, initially we had a lot of problems with the students not being able to understand each other. But what was amazing was the community organizations turned around and said that the projects and the ideas that these students come out is amazing, very creative. So that's something that is a huge passion to me. And I see these changes in students, it just gets me going. And I just want to do more work with them and empower students for this.
Sure. Thank you so much. I love the word reflection, because I always tell, if you want growth and development, go for reflection, feedback, and accountability. Without these three, there is no growth, no development. You get stagnated where you are. So it's great to hear you speak about the same thing. So of course there's synergy. So by empowering youth, how do you envision their ability to transform communities? Can you share some examples, please?
Okay, wow, there's so many examples, but one of the things which I work a lot with the deaf community in Malaysia, because the deaf community, I suppose at large over the world, deaf communities tend to have a lower health outcome, and they have a barrier communicating with the healthcare sector. So what our group of medical and pharmacy students did basically was to translate a whole list of medical consultation ideas into from sign language to rather simple words to simple sign language, so the deaf person can communicate with doctor. And that was the first idea that came up, and now it's a huge process. We've developed an app to help with this, and it's just moving on. We've got a grant, and it's just growing into something so beautiful. So that's just one project.
Okay, thank you so much. And I know you're contributing and collaborating with other people to So how can anyone who wants to contribute towards these things, or empowering women, empowering youth, or even empowering men, we definitely have no issues there. How do you think people can contribute towards those things?
Okay, and this is something that I'm thinking of and toying of. It all started with COVID, the pandemic. We could not do the program last year because we were not allowed to meet people. But I started thinking about, why don't we do a e-community service, meaning that you contact people from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that I'd like to throw to everybody. I mean, we can get youth from all over the world to do things like this. And that's something that I think I would like to work towards.
Sure. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you, Uma. Uma is someone I got to know very recently. It's always a pleasure to know empowered women, empowering youth and women, and which is, always a pleasure. So now I'm going to do something very different this time. Perhaps it's like a rapid fire. I'm going to ask the same question to everyone, and it'll be interesting to see what everyone comes up. So whilst you are here, let me ask you first, Uma.
Mm-hmm.
We complain or sometimes we say, men are not allowing us to progress as much or to achieve much. But the question we really have to ask ourselves is, how much as women are helping other women or empowering them to succeed? So what's your take on that?
I think as women, I think one of the strongest things personally I would do is to tell another woman is that I'm here for you. I'll be your cheerleader. I can be your mentor. I can try to inspire you or motivate you. But most importantly, I'm here for you.
Sure. Thank you so much. That's a great takeaway. Perfect. Okay, so let me go backwards now. Claudette, it's your turn. So if you have to empower another woman, fellow woman, regardless of background, what would be the one advice you would be giving?
I would tell a woman that she must always remember that she always has a choice. Because as a woman, sometimes your relationships or your contacts or your network, sometimes they can feel overpowering to you.
Sure.
And you just have to always remind another woman that you always have a choice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's profound. Thank you so much, because with choice comes power. I definitely resonate that one because, as Jim Rohn says, you are the average of 5 people you surround yourself with. So I always tell people, you are not a tree. God has given 2 legs. So if the environment is not really serving you well, perhaps you have to just walk away. There's no point staying there and then complaining about the environment. So you'd always have a choice. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Let me go to Devapriya. I know you are already involved in empowering women. So as a community, how can you collaborate and co-create things to empower women in general, Devapriya?
Very interesting. I think as a community, and I can talk about the communities, a couple of communities that I run. So one is the Speakers Lab. I run a Speakers Lab only for women. So this is a platform for women through which they can share their voice and their message, find speaking opportunities, network, and get trained to become confident speakers. So basically, one thing is to give them a platform. Secondly, as part of, I'm leading the Wiki India UK Business Council, where I help women in India and UK forge connections, bilateral relationships in trade and entrepreneurship and deeper conversations. So economic and business empowerment. And I think, helping people to be authentic and show up and discover and find their purpose through so many learning platforms, so many events that we curate. And I just want to share a quote by Brené Brown that really resonates with me. And I spread this message when I speak to my community members. Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real. the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. And really, that is my message to the women that I work with every day, and my message to all the lovely women here today.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Devapriya. It's a pleasure because I need to really tell this, because when Devapriya called me, sometimes we do talk from India, and said, do you want to become part of Wiki, which is bilateral from India, UK Business Council? And I first response from me was, you do know that I am not from India, I'm actually from Sri Lanka, but of course it was my second home. I lived there for 10 years. And Devapriya immediately said, she didn't blink an eye. She immediately said, Menaca, the most important thing is what you're going to bring to the table and how you're going to empower people and connect people and help people. And it really doesn't matter. And it really, empowered me to go out and do something from anyone, all sort of backgrounds. That's the reason I do this talk show in English, so that we can embrace and empower and encourage, through education, perhaps sometimes, to all men and women and youth from all over the world. So thank you so much, Devapriya. Julie Cunningham, it's your turn. You spoke about assertiveness, and we have often had this conversation, particularly in corporate leadership, professional roles, how there is a lack of women, and particularly women empowering women to become more successful. So how do you think women can actually help other women to support, encourage, and empower them to become the best version they can be?
I love everything that's been said so far, and the comments about it showing up, Devapriya, what you said was just so valuable. Claudette, Uma, it's fantastic to be here, very inspiring. I think as women, as empowered women, it's our responsibility to help other women learn to be empowered. I think there are so many different definitions of empowerment and what it means. It means you have a choice. You are responsible for how you show up, where you show up. You have control over that, so claim it. And that for me was why it was so important to speak about assertiveness today. It's learning how to speak up for yourself in a way that gets you heard and brings you the success, the connections, and the life and the fulfillment that you want. I think there has been a myth, particularly in corporates, as that's my background, for a long time now, that women do help women. Sadly, it's not 100% true. We've still got some work to do there. And I think when you see an opportunity to shine a light on another woman and help her succeed, we are all responsible to do that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Julie. So can you give one sentence, because of course we are coming to the closing time, to a parting wisdom to participants and whoever is listening on Facebook as well, one line of wisdom to be able to empower women, please?
Well, I'm going to default here to Maya Angelou, that wonderful quote that I know you and I have gone back and forth on, and that is, when you know better, you do better.
You do better, of course.
And that is, learn from what you know and do better next time. We're all a work in progress. We're none of us perfect.
Yes, thank you so much, Ellie. It's a pleasure to have you
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Devapriya, one-liner for you, the last sentence of wisdom.
Make the right choices and stand in your own power.
Thank you, Devapriya. Claudette, it's your turn. The one-liner of wisdom you want to share today.
Wow. Live your dream.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Dr. Uma, it's your turn. What is the one sentence of wisdom you would like to share today?
I'm here for you.
Perfect. I will be definitely calling you now. You don't know what you have signed up for. Thank you so much, Dr. Uma. Okay. Thank you so much for everyone listening on the Facebook and be participants on the Zoom. Please hang on. We are still not done yet. So before we wrap this up, let me announce what we are going to be doing next week. Next week, our own Kirbai Kahoot from Meet Menaca and I together, we will be speaking about shifting your identity, because it will be about our journey from where we started, where we are now, how we see ourselves, and how others decide to see ourselves, sometimes in a positive note, sometimes might be not that positive, but we have learned to embrace it and empower each other to become who we want to become. So that would be the next week topic, the same place, same time. And before I finish, I am going to hand it over to Kirbai to give the vote of thanks to the great speakers we had today. Over to you, Kirbai.
Thank you, Menaca. On behalf of Meet Menaca, celebrating you, we on this platform like to celebrate each one of you here on Zoom and also on Facebook. We celebrate you as one and all part of Meet Menaca today, and we thank you for your presence. Last not but least, I'm just overwhelmed. I've got no words to say about our great esteemed panels from different parts of the world, brought from different cultures, different aspects of power-packed, encouraging words to create this inclusive world. In keeping with this year's theme, Choose to Challenge, Julie set the stage, assertiveness, and all our speakers kind of worked around that word, assertiveness, in different forms. And Julie, we thank you for your vigor and energy on bringing assertiveness. Thank you, Julie. Deva Pradya, kudos for such a liberating and motivational speech and talk, enabling women to fly. Thank you. Claudette, for sharing with us with so much of conviction and hope for women. Thank you for sharing this hope on this platform. And finally, Uma, a servant leader who put her hand to the plow and helping communities from the grassroots, young people, young women, they're starting off young. Thank you, women. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And well done, ladies. Well done.
Okay, as it is choosing to challenge is the theme, I'm going to ask Kirbai one word of wisdom, what you want to impart.
Well, one word of, she's put me on a spot. I thought I'll relax. Endure.
Sure.
We have to endure.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kirbai, as ever. Thank you so much for all the speakers. And thank you, Kirbai, for that wonderful word of thanks. And so keeping up to that challenge, my challenge to everyone on this platform, co-speakers, the team members and panel members and people who are listening on Facebook is, how are you going to choose to challenge yourself and others to empower other women? For my fellow women, how are you going to empower someone else? Please take a moment and think about it seriously today. And for those men who have been kind enough to come here to support us, cheer us, and empower us in their own way, how are you going to empower the women you know in your life, personally or professionally, to empower them and uplift them to become the best version they can be? It is a pleasure, and it is always, I'm astonished about how much support we really get from men on this platform to help us grow and develop into who we want to become. And I think it is amazing when men decide to help women to empower other men and other women to become their best version. So a lot of gratitude for all the men and women and the youth. Be there to support us. So for people who are listening on Facebook, it is that time of the day to say Goodbye. Until next week, where Kirve and myself will be speaking about shifting your identity. Until then, be safe, stay happy, and keep smiling.